Far beyond the known stars, alien scientists worked in silence. Their ships moved like shadows, and their laboratories floated around dead suns where no one could disturb them. These scientists were not explorers of beauty. They were collectors of fear. They studied every species in the galaxy, measuring their strengths, their weaknesses, and their future. Civilizations rose and fell under their gaze, and the aliens believed they understood all life. But that belief was about to shatter. One of these scientists was named Zeltor. His skin glowed faint green under the cold light of the lab. He had studied warlike beasts that crushed steel, he had studied empires that built fleets of 1,000 ships, and he had watched entire worlds burn. Yet nothing had ever disturbed him. Until the day he opened the file marked humanity. At first, it looked simple. Humans were small compared to other species. Their muscles were weaker, their lifespan short, their world ordinary. They had no natural claws, no sharp fangs, and no armor on their skin. The report suggested they should be easy to conquer. Zeltor almost laughed at the weakness of these creatures. But then he reached the section labeled Imagination. The alien paused. His thin fingers trembled as he scrolled through the images. Strange colors, impossible machines, monsters larger than planets, weapons that could tear galaxies apart. At first, he thought these were real records of war. Then he realized they were not reality. They were dreams. They were stories created by human minds. For a long time, Zeltor stared at the glowing screen. He whispered to himself, "How can a species create something that does not exist, and yet describe it as if it does?" He opened another file. He saw drawings of flying ships from centuries ago, when humans had not yet touched the sky. But centuries later, those ships became real. He saw weapons imagined in books, and then built in human factories. He saw stories of traveling between stars, and now human scientists were already trying to reach them. Fear spread through his chest. Humans did not just survive with strength. They created strength where none existed. They imagined the future and then walked into it. Other species waited for evolution. Humans invented evolution with their hands and their tools. He called the others. Soon the lab was full of whispers and arguments. One scientist shouted that humans were dangerous. Another claimed they were just dreamers and nothing more. But Zeltor silenced them all when he played a human recording. It was a collection of human movies, stories filled with battles against aliens. The humans imagined wars with creatures like them, creatures who looked exactly like the alien scientists themselves. The lab fell silent. "Do you see?" Zeltor said. His voice shook. "They already dream of us. They already prepare for us." A red alarm echoed across the chamber. The central computer had detected a new pattern. Human imagination was accelerating. In the last 100 years, humans had imagined more than in the last 1,000. Their machines were growing faster, their ideas were multiplying, and their stories spread like wildfire across their world. It was as if every human mind was a weapon factory, producing endless designs. The chief scientist arrived. His eyes burned with worry. "What does this mean?" he demanded. Zeltor looked at him with dread. "It means their weakness is a lie. Their imagination makes them stronger than any calculation." The chief shook his head. "They are still far behind. Their ships are small. Their weapons cannot reach us." Zeltor leaned closer. "You are wrong. Do you not understand? They do not need time. They do not need warning. Every story they tell is a seed. And seeds grow." The room grew colder. For the first time, the scientists who had never feared any species began to feel something they had never felt before: doubt. In the darkness of the lab, one screen showed a human child drawing with colored pencils. The picture was of a giant ship flying among stars, humans standing proud at its command. The scientists stared at the simple drawing. They did not see a child's toy. They saw a future that might come true. The chief whispered, "If their children can imagine this today, what will their descendants build tomorrow?" Nobody answered. The silence was heavier than the void outside. The scientists had seen creatures with claws sharper than steel, monsters that could crush armies, rulers who enslaved entire star systems. But those threats were simple. You could fight them, you could destroy them. But how do you destroy an idea? How do you stop a species that can imagine victory even when surrounded by defeat? Zeltor turned away from the screen. For the first time in his long life, he felt fear crawl through his mind like poison. He understood something the others did not want to believe. You can kill a body, you can burn a planet, but you cannot kill imagination. And humans had more of it than any species he had ever seen. The red alarm echoed again. A new update arrived from Earth. Human scientists had just launched another machine into space. A small step for humans, but a message to the galaxy. They were moving closer. They were moving toward the stars. Zeltor closed the file. His hands shook. He whispered words that no alien scientist had ever spoken before. Beware the humans. They are not strong because of what they are. They are strong because of what they dream. And for the first time, in the endless halls of the alien research station, the scientists felt a terror they could not measure. The alien council gathered in a great chamber made of black stone and glowing light. The room was filled with the leaders of their science divisions. They were not ordinary beings. Each had lived for centuries, guiding their people through countless wars and discoveries. They had faced monsters, storms, and entire collapsing stars. Yet now they sat in silence, staring at the reports about humanity. The first voice to break the silence was cold and sharp. They are still primitive, one council member declared. Their weapons are nothing compared to ours. Their ships are fragile. Their numbers are small. Why should we fear them? Another scientist spoke with unease. Because what they create today in their minds, they build tomorrow with their hands. Look at their history. They imagined flying machines, and now they rule their skies. They imagined machines that speak, and now they hold knowledge in small devices. Every dream they create becomes a blueprint for reality. The chamber stirred with whispers. The council members studied the images from Earth. They saw tall cities glowing with light, networks of machines that connected millions of human minds, weapons that once belonged only in their fantasies now turning into prototypes in laboratories. One alien raised his hand. His voice was deep and full of concern. Do you not understand? Humans are not dangerous because of what they have now. They are dangerous because of what they might have tomorrow. Their imagination runs faster than their evolution. It runs faster than our calculations. The words spread through the chamber like fire. The aliens had always trusted their models. They had predicted the rise and fall of countless species with perfect accuracy. But humans were breaking the pattern. Their stories were rewriting their future faster than the aliens could predict. Zeltor stood in the center of the chamber, his green skin glowing faintly under the light. He had brought the report, and now all eyes turned to him. His voice was low but steady. I have studied them closely. Their fiction is not entertainment. It is a warning. Every story they tell is a rehearsal for tomorrow. When they dream of war, they prepare for it. When they dream of exploration, they build it. When they dream of monsters, they create weapons strong enough to face them. No other species has done this. Only humans. The chief counselor narrowed his eyes. Are you saying they are unstoppable? Zeltor hesitated. Not yet. But they will be. The chamber grew colder. For the first time in centuries, the council felt the shadow of something they could not measure. One of the elder scientists spoke slowly. His voice was old and filled with weight. If what you say is true, then humans are not a species to be ignored. They are a seed of danger. Seeds grow into forests, and forests are hard to cut down. Another member slammed his hand against the table. Then we must cut the seed now. Destroy them before imagination turns into power. If we wait, it will be too late. A sharp silence followed. Some nodded in agreement. Others shifted uncomfortably. The idea of destroying humans seemed simple. Their world was small, their defenses weak. A single strike could erase them. But Zeltor shook his head. You do not understand, he said. Even if you destroy them, their imagination will remain. Their stories will outlive them. And if even one human survives, that one will dream again. And the dream will rise once more. The chamber fell into deep silence. The counselors were not used to fear, but now they could feel it. On the screens around them, more human data appeared. New inventions. New theories. Machines in orbit around their planet. Rockets reaching higher into the void. The aliens watched as humanity moved one step closer to the stars. One young scientist whispered, "They are climbing faster than we expected. Much faster." The elder replied in a voice heavy with dread. "Because they imagine the top before they even start the climb. That is why they cannot be measured." Outside the chamber, the galaxy was calm. Stars burned, planets turned, and life continued as it always had. But inside that black stone hall, a secret truth spread among the alien leaders. They had always believed strength came from claws, fangs, numbers, or machines. But now they realized strength could also come from something invisible, something untouchable: imagination. The chief counselor finally stood. His tall figure cast a shadow over the chamber. His voice echoed against the walls. "Then we must decide. Do we fear them? Do we fight them? Or do we watch and wait?" No one answered. The silence was heavier than steel. At that moment, a new transmission arrived from Earth. It showed humans launching another machine into space, carrying their signals and voices into the stars. A song played in the background, full of hope and dreams. The aliens stared at the screen, listening to the strange human music. Zeltor whispered softly, almost to himself. "They are not just reaching for the stars. They are pulling the stars toward them." The chamber trembled with unease. The council members did not speak again. They all knew what Zeltor meant. Humans were not waiting for the galaxy to find them. Humans were already imagining the galaxy as theirs. And imagination, once born, never dies. The council did not sleep that cycle. They argued for hours, their voices echoing through the black stone chamber. Some wanted war. Some wanted silence. Others demanded more research. In the end, they agreed on one thing: they needed to test the humans. The decision was not made lightly. For centuries, the alien scientists had observed species without ever interfering. But humans were different. They could not be measured from a distance. Their imagination was like fire, spreading faster than logic could follow. The council wanted to know, was this fire truly dangerous, or only an illusion? And so, the test began. The aliens sent signals into human skies. Strange bursts of energy, false transmissions, and patterns that carried no meaning. They wanted to see how humans would react. Would they ignore it? Would they panic? Would they remain silent? On Earth, the response shocked them. Humans did not remain silent. They filled their radios, their televisions, their networks with endless theories. Every signal became a story. Every strange burst became a mystery. Some believed it was natural, some thought it was military, and many whispered it was alien. The aliens watched with growing unease. "Look at them," one scientist muttered. "We give them nonsense, and they create 1,000 explanations. They imagine everything from invasion to friendship." Zeltor leaned forward, his eyes glowing with cold light. "Do you see the danger? Every explanation is a plan. Every story is a possible strategy. They are preparing for all outcomes at once." The test continued. The aliens placed strange shapes in the night sky, small machines that glowed and vanished. Humans saw them and immediately created new names, new tales, new warnings. They called them unidentified flying objects. They built books and movies about them. Children grew up dreaming of them. Soldiers trained to fight them. The Alien Council watched in silence. Their small test had created a storm of human imagination so powerful it spread across the planet. Now every human expected aliens. Every human had already played the game of first contact in their mind. One alien whispered, "We tried to confuse them, but instead we have trained them." The unease grew deeper. The humans were not just reacting. They were transforming. Their imagination had turned simple lights in the sky into stories of war, exploration, and survival. The council gathered again. "We gave them shadows," one scientist said. "They turned shadows into armies." Another added, "They are preparing for a war that has not yet come. And if the day comes, they will not face it as fools. They will face it with ideas." Zeltor spoke slowly, his voice heavy with fear. Do you not see? They are writing their future before it happens. And the future they write is one where they win. The chamber fell silent. To push the test further, the aliens tried something new. They sent false mathematical codes into Earth signals, messages that contained no meaning. They wanted to see how humans would respond to a puzzle with no answer. The response terrified them. Humans did not give up. They created theories. They imagined hidden messages. They argued, they debated, they built computers to search for meaning where none existed. They filled their minds with possibilities. One alien scientist gripped his head in disbelief. We gave them nothing, and they created everything. They will never stop. Even when there is no answer, they will imagine one. The truth became clear. Humans could not be controlled with silence or lies. Their imagination was stronger than truth itself. One night, Zeltor stood alone in the observation hall. He watched Earth spinning quietly under its blue skies. From this distance, it looked fragile, almost harmless. But he knew better now. Inside that fragile world lived billions of dreamers, each one carrying a universe inside their mind. Another scientist joined him. What do you see, Zeltor? Zeltor did not look away from Earth. His voice was soft. I see a storm. A storm that has not yet arrived, but it is coming. Every dream they create is a drop of rain. When it falls, it will become a flood, and the galaxy will not stop it. The scientist shivered. Then our test has failed. Zeltor finally turned to him, his eyes filled with dread. No. The test has succeeded. And that is the problem. The report was sent back to the council. It carried only one conclusion. Humans do not react like other species. Humans prepare for everything. Their imagination makes them undefeatable in the mind before the first battle begins. The council read the report in silence. Some demanded immediate destruction. Others demanded retreat. But none could deny the truth. The test had shown that humans were not just another species. They were something new. Something dangerous. And in the quiet halls of the alien station, whispers began to spread. Not of conquest, but of fear. For the first time in their long history, the aliens wondered if they had made a mistake by even letting humans know the sky was alive. The report of the human test spread through the alien empire like a dark wind. The council had expected a simple answer, but instead they had found something they could not measure. Now every scientist, every strategist, every leader whispered the same question: what do humans imagine next? Zeltor became a name of fear among his own kind. He had been the one to open the files. He had been the one to warn the others. And now, more than ever, his warnings echoed in every hall. Inside the grand archive of alien knowledge, the scientists gathered again. The walls were alive with moving screens, each one showing fragments of human stories. They saw drawings from children, they saw films of war, they saw books filled with gods, demons, and machines that could bend time itself. One young scientist gasped at the sight of a human movie. A simple story about humans fighting against an alien empire. The humans were small, fragile, yet in the story they rose and defeated their enemies with courage and ideas. The scientist whispered in disbelief, why would they imagine themselves fighting powers greater than them? Zeltor's voice answered like a shadow. Because they believe they can. Their imagination does not accept limits. If they are weak today, they dream of strength tomorrow. If they are small, they dream of giants. If they face death, they dream of victory beyond death. No cage can hold a mind that refuses to accept it. The room was filled with silence. The aliens had studied countless races, but none had dared to imagine themselves greater than their gods. Yet humans did it freely, every day, without fear. The council ordered a deeper study. They wanted to know not just the dreams of humans, but the patterns of those dreams. And so, for many cycles, the aliens searched the human network. They read the stories of soldiers, scientists, children, and leaders. What they discovered made their blood run cold. Humans imagined monsters that even the alien empire had never seen. Beings that swallowed suns, machines that erased entire galaxies, shadows that could bend the laws of reality. The aliens stared at these impossible creations with horror. If humans could imagine such things, then one day they might try to create them. One scientist cried out in fear, "If they can dream of destroying galaxies, what happens if they succeed? What happens when their science reaches their imagination?" No one answered. Zeltor stepped forward again. "You see now why I warned you. Their strength is not their weapons, not their ships, not their bodies. Their strength is in their minds. If they can imagine gods and demons, then one day they will build them. And when that day comes, not even the oldest empire will be safe." The younger scientists trembled. Some wanted to close the study. Some wanted to erase all records of humanity and forget them. But others argued that forgetting would not save them. Humans would still dream, whether aliens watched or not. And so the fear grew. In time, even the soldiers of the Empire began to whisper. They had heard of humans now. They asked questions in secret. What kind of species makes weapons in their stories before they ever hold them in their hands? What kind of species prepares for war before the enemy even arrives? One commander, hardened by centuries of battle, stood before the council. His voice was heavy with anger. "I have fought beasts that could shatter mountains. I have fought empires with fleets larger than the stars. But I have never feared them. I only fear what I cannot see. And now, I fear humans. Not because of what they are, but because of what they might become." The council fell into silence. That night, Zeltor returned to his private chamber. He sat alone, watching a small screen. On it, a human child's voice told a simple story about traveling among the stars. There was no war in the story, no monsters, no fear. Only hope. The child dreamed of meeting other beings as friends, of sharing knowledge, of building worlds together. Zeltor felt a strange pain in his chest. The fear was still there, but something else joined it. A question he could not escape. Were humans dangerous only because of their dark imagination, or were they dangerous because they could also imagine hope? Hope was more dangerous than war. Hope made them unstoppable. A species that could imagine survival in the face of death would never truly surrender. The alien whispered into the silence, "How do you fight a species that dreams of winning, even when they lose?" Beyond his chamber, the alien empire trembled with the same question. For centuries they had believed they were the greatest power in the galaxy. But now they faced something greater than power. They faced imagination. And imagination had no limit. The council chamber was darker than ever before. The glowing walls flickered as though the very station felt the weight of their debate. For days the alien leaders had argued, but no answer was found. Each moment they delayed, humans moved closer to the stars. Each second they wasted, new dreams were born on Earth. Finally, the chief counselor spoke. His voice was sharp, but his eyes revealed hidden fear. "We cannot wait forever. We must choose. Do we destroy them now, before their imagination makes them untouchable? Or do we leave them and risk a future where they rule the galaxy?" The words echoed through the chamber. The silence afterward was heavier than stone. One commander stood. His body was tall, covered in scars from battles fought across the stars. His voice was deep and merciless. "I say we strike. Their world is small. Their fleets are weak. One blow and they are gone. Better to burn the seed before the forest rises." Several voices agreed. To them, humanity was a danger that must be erased before it grew stronger. They spoke of safety, of survival, of control. They believed fear could be silenced with fire. But then another voice spoke. It was quiet, but it carried across the chamber like a whisper of truth. It was Zeltor. "You are wrong. You can burn their cities. You can destroy their bodies. But you cannot kill imagination. Even if you erase their planet, their stories will remain. Their ideas will spread. And if one human survives, even one child, the dream begins again." The chamber stirred with unease. His words felt like poison, but they were also true. Another scientist rose. Her eyes glowed with cold light. "Perhaps we do not need to kill them. Perhaps we can control them. Place them in cages. Keep them limited. Deny them the tools to reach the stars." Zeltor shook his head. "Cages cannot hold dreams. A prisoner still imagines freedom. And when enough of them dream together, no chain will stop them. They will find a way out." The council fell back into silence. For the first time in their history, they realized there might be no simple answer. That night, in the observation hall, a group of younger scientists gathered around a screen. They watched recordings from Earth, humans building machines, humans telling stories, humans dreaming of futures that did not yet exist. Some of the scientists trembled. Some felt anger. But one of them felt something stranger. Admiration. He whispered, "They are so small, yet they imagine so big. We have lived for thousands of years, but our minds are still trapped by what is possible. Humans are not trapped. They reach beyond what exists." His words spread like quiet fire. Even among the aliens, doubt grew. Was humanity truly a threat, or was humanity the beginning of something greater? Back in the council, the arguments grew louder. The commander demanded destruction. The scientists demanded caution. And in the middle, Zeltor spoke once more. His voice carried both fear and awe. "You do not understand. You cannot destroy them. You cannot control them. You cannot even predict them. They are not just another species. They are an idea. And an idea cannot be killed." The chamber froze. Every alien stared at him, their minds shaken. The chief counselor leaned forward, his face hidden in shadow. "Then what do you suggest, Zeltor? If they cannot be destroyed, and they cannot be caged, what should we do?" Zeltor closed his eyes. His answer came like a whisper of fate. "We should fear them. And we should leave them." The chamber erupted in chaos. Some shouted that retreat was cowardice. Others shouted that destruction was madness. But beneath their voices, the truth was clear: no one had a solution. On the great screen, Earth continued to glow blue and alive. Humans laughed, cried, fought, and dreamed. They had no idea an alien empire debated their fate. They had no idea their imagination had already reached into the stars and planted fear in the hearts of beings who had ruled for millennia. The chief counselor finally stood, his figure tall and silent. His voice was low but final. "We will not strike them now. To fight them would be to risk everything. To watch them is the only choice. But remember this, the day will come when their dreams touch us directly. And on that day, we may all regret waiting." The council dismissed. Yet no one felt relief. The shadow of humanity hung heavy over them. Later, Zeltor returned once more to the archives. He played a simple recording of a human story. In it, a hero stood alone against an empire and refused to kneel. The story was not real, yet it filled him with dread. He turned off the screen, but the words echoed in his mind. "You can kill a human, but you cannot kill human imagination." He whispered the words again, knowing they were the most dangerous truth in the galaxy. And somewhere, far below, on the surface of Earth, a human child closed their eyes and dreamed of the stars. The station floated in silence above a dying star. For weeks the alien council had argued, and for weeks they had failed to find peace. Their decision to leave humans untouched had ended the debate, but it had not ended the fear. If anything, the fear had only grown stronger. Every cycle, new reports arrived from Earth. Humans building faster machines. Humans exploring deeper into space. Humans writing stories that reached further than any alien empire had ever dared to imagine. It was no longer a question of if humans would reach the stars. It was only a question of when. Zeltor sat alone in the archive hall, the light of countless human stories reflecting in his eyes. He had seen their nightmares. He had seen their wars. But what frightened him most were their hopes. Because hope was the fuel of their imagination, and hope was something no weapon could destroy. Suddenly, an alarm echoed through the chamber. A new discovery flashed across the screens. At first, Zeltor thought it was another invention, another machine, another signal. But when he looked closer, his blood froze. The humans were imagining them. On the screen were books and films created by humans, stories of alien scientists studying humanity, stories of alien fear, stories of hidden watchers in the stars. The humans had already dreamed of this exact moment. They had imagined the fear of their enemies before their enemies had even felt it. Zeltor whispered to himself, "They already know us. They already wrote this story." Other scientists rushed into the chamber. They stared at the screens in disbelief. Humans were not only imagining the future, they were imagining this very future. Every fear the aliens carried was already painted in human words and pictures. One scientist trembled. If they can imagine our fear so perfectly, then perhaps they already understand us better than we understand them. Another spoke with horror. We are not studying them. They are studying us, through their imagination. The council was summoned again. For the first time, not one voice demanded destruction. Not one voice demanded control. All they felt was silence, heavy and endless. The chief counselor's voice broke through at last. We are too late. Their imagination has already reached us. Even here, far from their world, we are trapped in their stories. They do not need to fight us to win. They have already conquered us in the mind. Zeltor stood slowly. His face was pale, his body shaking. This is what I warned you. They are not limited by reality. They are not limited by the present. They can create a future where they rise, and once they create it, it becomes real. You cannot fight a species like that. You can only fear them. No one argued. The final decision was written that same cycle. For the first time in galactic history, the alien scientists closed their research on a living species. Their report was short, only a single line. Beware the human imagination. It is the one weapon that conquers all. The record was sealed. The order was given: avoid Earth, avoid humans, avoid the storm that was coming. The Empire would turn its eyes away, hoping to delay the day when human dreams reached them. But deep in their hearts, they knew it was useless. Because human imagination traveled faster than light, faster than ships, faster than time itself. Even if the aliens closed their eyes, human dreams would find them. That night, Zeltor looked one last time at the blue world spinning far below. It looked peaceful, almost innocent. Children laughed, artists painted, writers told stories. None of them knew that across the stars, ancient beings feared them. None of them knew their imagination had already won the first battle without lifting a single weapon. Zeltor whispered softly, "You can kill a body. You can burn a world. But you cannot kill an idea. And humans are nothing but ideas." As the station drifted into the endless dark, a human voice played on the archive screen. It was part of a broadcast humans had sent into space: music, words, and dreams carried on invisible waves. The voice spoke with hope, not fear. "We imagine a future among the stars." The aliens listened in silence. Some felt anger, some felt despair, but all felt the same truth. Humanity's imagination had already escaped Earth. It was already touching the stars. And imagination, once born, never dies.